I mean, obviously, part of that undoubtedly probably was, get to know the Lord more, deepen your Christian life. But beyond that, it wasn't just an inward-looking thing.
Throughout my life, I have been to many kind of listen, learn, and then leave conferences.
Yeah.
You know, the kind that you go along, you have a good time, you probably use the swimming pool and spend most of the evening in the bar, and then you go home and you're exactly the same person as you were before,
yes.
and you don't do anything different. And I think sometimes we just need to be pushed beyond that. And I think MissionNet was really trying to give an opportunity for people to say, all right, okay, there's actually a response I need to give here. This whole thing is because I need to give a response. And yes, there was opportunity for us to gain spiritually ourselves, you know, personally. But there was also a lot of opportunity to give. And I think that is an opportunity that young people aren't always given in the right measure.
And do you think it was something which will be repeated year on year? Is it something that's planned to be repeated?
We have another one planned. Actually, rather than Easter, over New Year from 2011 to 2012.
Okay.
So slight change of date, but it's designed to be a bi-yearly event. Right. So that we get together in one place in Europe bi-yearly, but in the middle, in between that, we will also be holding events, hopefully in each individual country.
Right.
You know, to keep the movement going within the country, because mission is just as much about the next street down the road as it is about the next country across the water.
And details of the next thing are on missionnet.com, is it?
Missionnet.org.
.org. Sorry, mission-net.org.
Mission-net.org. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but
is,
mission.net. The Mormons had that.
Oh, did they?
So we
don't get confused, guys.
Yeah, don't get confused.
It's there.
Absolutely.
And we'll pass that information on to the office. So if anybody misses out and needs to know exactly, or puts the wrong thing in and finds they're in some other site whatsoever, ring up the office and we'll make sure they have the details for it. Just before I leave this with you, again, I was fascinated by the quotes on the website.
Oh dear, big mouth again.
Yes, I thought so. I thought, yeah. Okay, so you had all these young people and from all over Europe, and you said that they would be inspired and challenged to think about the history-making work that God is engaged in all over the continent. Now, number one, what on earth did you mean by that? Number two, did it happen?
Now, I wonder whether you got this quote off of my website, which is a little bit different to the MissionNet website.
Well, okay, it may be the MissionNet.
But I can explain that. Absolutely.
Okay, please.
You see, I think
you're not backing away from it.
No, I'm no politician. No, I actually think that sometimes we understate what God does. You know, and we don't give him the kudos that he's due. And actually, God is involved in changing the world. And you only have to look into a few history books to realize God has changed the world an awful lot of times and done an awful lot of amazing things. And really, we've lost the vision of the fact that we are part of that, you know. God doesn't do that by zapping this, that, and the other all the time. But he does do it through human hands and through believers. And I think one of the things that MissionNet was trying to achieve was to really hammer that home, that actually God is involved in changing the world. That is his business, you know. And of all the businesses that we could get involved in, surely changing the world is the most exciting business that we can start to work for.
Yeah, I would agree. Do you think that many or most of the people actually went through and the conference and received some fresh vision, or not?
I think so. We've had overwhelmingly positive feedback throughout the subsequent months, and many have said that really they had not experienced something like that before, and so it was a real opportunity for us to see whether this was something that people would take up, see whether this is something that youth are thinking about. And to be honest, for many of the youth, it wasn't something they were thinking about before, and it was something that was new to them. And one of the experiences that we had, well, I personally had whilst rallying people in the UK, was that mission, we can be involved in something like, they thought that it was, you get a couple of crackpots at the back of the church who, a bit
Mission
eccentric,
secretary,
and and through the jungles hacking out, bits of forestry. But no, it's not. It was actually something that youth can be involved in, that people my age and below can actually take an active part in and make a difference.
Right, and you presented that to them, the opportunities, presumably.
Absolutely.
Yeah. JT, how does that? Do your camps with Tribe differ from that? It seems that MissionNet is on mission. Now, it doesn't seem to be totally Tribe is on mission, but I think that's part of it. Is there an overlap here? Is there a difference in emphasis with what you are doing than what James has just described?
Yeah, they're apples and pears. There are some similarities because as young people, it's we seek to motivate and excite and involve young people in things. But in one way, Tribers, we would create in Tribe the sort of people that might go to MissionNet. The people who would go to MissionNet would, I would think, all be Christians already, whereas in Tribe you have this mixture. You've got people who are not yet Christians, people who are not even thinking about becoming Christians, and those who quite clearly are disciples of Jesus already, That isn't to say that mission is not part of Tribe, because it is, big part, outward facing, reaching out to people, the next street as well as the next continent, is very much part of Tribe. We've got Tribers we've fed people into YFC regularly over the last 10 years, Youth for Christ. Gap year workers. We've had our folk go to Metro Ministries in New York. We've had our people feed into the Pays project up north, doing gap years and leading teams and things. We've had the Message Trust Manchester has had a good stream of Tribe related people being involved with it over the last few years. And of course recently we've had one of our guys go to Zambia for 7 months, and we took a team of 12 out there just a little while ago.
Right.
So it's, Tribe is, in that sense, we share much the same heart as James and the MissionNet conference.
But it starts before that. As you say, probably most of the people that James is dealing with are those that are sitting in youth groups doing nothing except going regularly to, and James is coming along and saying, guys, God saved you for something more than that. Very, you sort of take a step back before that, and there's a lot of your work that is involved with, as you say quite clearly, with unchurched people. Now, I suspect that brings some misunderstanding, but doesn't it also bring some tensions within the work between those that are churched and those that are unchurched? Are there tensions there, and how do you cope with that?
I can understand that there could be tensions, and occasionally there's rumours of difficulties, but I'm trying to think how we've actually dealt with it, because we've never had a major problem.
Right.
I think it's because Tribe changed as time went on. So the Tribers who are involved, who come from Christian families, we don't make a distinction. The fact is, because we're biased, and we are biased, and I think it's the only way you could be effective, we are biased towards the unchurched kids. So for instance, we will give them lifts. We will, if their parents will not give them money to come to camp, we will pay for them to come. We will go out of our way to phone them up, to Facebook them, to keep in touch, etc., etc. But what that does, that doesn't push them ahead. It actually brings them up on a par. The ones who are from Christian backgrounds, if we stopped doing Tribe for the summer holidays, it wouldn't matter too much, because they still have contact and friendships and links and whatever. But if we stopped doing Tribe for the summer months, the unchurched ones would really suffer, because we are the only effective Christian fellowship that they might have. So what tends to happen then is that you get this mix of people who see themselves as Tribe. They don't see themselves as coming from an unchurched background or from one of the Christian ones.